Hey folks, welcome to my channel Number Pen. So there we have the problem on the screen. Differentiate the following: y equals 4 secant 5x, right? So step 1 in this particular problem would be to make a substitution into the expression y so that we bring y to a function in terms of u whose derivative we know by heart, or we are familiar with the derivative of that particular expression by first principles, right? So here we have a very simple expression in front of us. So we know what is the dy dx of secant from first principles, right? We have worked it out earlier. And if you've not seen my earlier video, I'll put a link to that particular video in the description. Please take a look at it. And so what is that substitution that I'll have to make? It's quite evident that my substitution will have to be 5x equals u, right? And why are we doing this? Drawing your attention to the chain rule that I've put on my screen to the right. Let y be a function of u. So, and in turn, u equals g of x. So, what are we actually doing in this function? We have an expression y, it is actually in terms of x. We are making the substitution to represent it in terms of u, and then u in turn becomes g of x. So what is your y? Your y is f of g of x. And when you're being asked to establish dy dx of y, all that you will have to do is figure out your f dashed. Your f dashed is with respect to g of x, and your g dashed is with respect to x, right? So your dy by dx is nothing but f dashed of g of x into g dashed of x, right? So I don't think this is very important for you to memorize this particular rule, as long as you know or are quite familiar with the approach to the problems by substitution method, right? So in this case, all that we are doing is we're going to represent y in terms of u by making a substitution. And what is that substitution? Y equals 5x, right? So when I do that substitution, my y can be represented in the form of u by as this, right? 4 secant u, right? Because I've made the substitution out in the first step. So I have my y equals 4 secant u. So what is my dy by du, which is what I will work out? My dy by du is, I'm quite familiar with it, right? My dy by du is 4 secant u into tan u, right? So we know this from first principles, and it's very important for us to remember this particular, uh, you know, uh, derivative, right? So I have my dy by du. I've been asked to find dy by dx, so I go back to my previous step. Remember that we made a substitution u equals 5x, right? So I'm going to calculate what is my du by dx. So my du by dx is nothing but d by dx of 5x. 5 is a constant, and then my d by dx of x is 1, right? So there I have my du by dx as well. So I'm going to highlight this because we're going to use both these terms in the next step. So my du by dx is 5, my dy by du is 4 secant u tan u, which I'll call by a different color. And then I come to my next step to figure out what is my dy by dx. So my dy by dx equals dy by du into du by dx, right? This is what exactly we mean by chain rule. So dy by du into du by dx, right? This also makes sense arithmetically, right? So my dy by dx is nothing but dy by du into du by dx. And why is that? I've multiplied and divided it by a du. So we are calculating a rate of change of y with respect to u, and then we are calculating a rate of change of u with respect to x, and then doing a product of both, right? So dy by du we already are familiar with. I'm going to pull it out from the yellow expression. So it's 4 secant u tan u. And then my du by dx is nothing but 5, which I'll pull it out from what I've highlighted in green in the earlier step. So there I have my answer. But the point here is it is still in terms of u, and our expectation is to express it in terms of x, right? So I have 4 secant u tan u into 5. So I can make this as 20 secant u tan u. But then I'll have to represent everything in terms of x. So I'll go and put back my u as 5x, which I did in the original step. And there I have the final answer for this particular problem, which is 20 secant 5x tan x, right? So let me highlight it. Let me highlight the final answer using a different color. Yeah, let me use turquoise. Yeah. So my final answer to this problem is 20 secant 5x tan 5x, right? I hope you found this content useful. Please do subscribe to my channel and support. Thank you.